Happening today, a ruling is expected in a growing legal showdown between the owner of Mountainside Fitness and Governor Doug Ducey. The gym chain is challenging the governor's decision to close gyms. Team 12's Matt Yurus is live outside of a Mountainside Fitness location in Scottsdale with what we can expect. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning, Rachel. Yeah, Mountainside is seeking an injunction against the governor's order to close all gyms and some businesses, but not all, for a month. A ruling in the gym's favor would allow Mountainside to legally stay open as the court case proceeds. In other words, it would suspend the governor's order, at least as it relates to Mountainside. Typically, a judge issues an injunction when the plaintiff, in this case the gym, would suffer serious harm. That's a bit of an oversimplification, but you get the idea. Once the court case is decided, the injunction is over, and the parties follow the court's ruling. Mountainside's owner argues that the governor's order arbitrarily and without evidence found gyms contributed to the spread of coronavirus more than other businesses do. The governor's camp, of course, argues that his order is necessary to help prevent the spread of COVID-19 and protect Arizonans. To reiterate, the case can still go forward no matter what the judge rules today. Mountainside might just have to make its case while it's closed. I do want to flag, as we come back out here live this morning, that the gym is fairly busy. In the last 15 minutes or so, we've seen people coming and going. There's certainly more than 24 cars in the gym, so folks are worried about it. At least people that come to this gym, they're not showing it at the moment. We'll be back with more in just a bit. For now, we're live in Scottsdale. Matt Yurus, Today in AZ.